A Karen puts her son in danger, and I step in to save him, only to be met with a shocking betrayal. She not only accuses me of harm, but also calls the police on me. Here's the unbelievable chain of events that unfolded. I never thought I'd be posting here, but this just recently happened, about a week ago. I'm almost graduating high school and I have a job at the supermarket, bagging items, stocking merchandise, etc. But I'm still shaken up and decided this place would be a good place to put my experience. This day it was pretty rainy, so there were barely any people in the store, and I was fixing any products that were out of order. I was just chilling since there was barely anything to do. Cue Karen and the entitled kid come strolling into the store, and I don't pay mind to the woman because she has that, "Can I speak to the manager" haircut. I'm already kinda wearily of this woman, so I try to mind my own business and do my job. She sees me and rolls her eyes, muttering something about lazy teenagers even though I have a job. But whatever, and she asks me rudely without a please or anything where the drinks are. I tell her which aisle and she loudly exclaims, "Excuse me, are you gonna take me there or what? Take me there now or I'll speak to the manager. This is why you get paid." I only nod and don't say anything. So I take her to where the drinks are and she doesn't say thanks or anything, only scoffs and pushes me away. So I'm fixing some stuff that fell onto the floor, not too far away, and I see the kid climbing onto the ledge where the drinks are. "Excuse me, we just mopped the floor so it's slippery and plus your son can't be climbing that. It can fall or he can get hurt." I say this as politely as possible and I don't want to get in trouble because of some kid, you know? Applying to colleges and a record won't do me any good. She gives me a nasty glare and snaps, "Don't tell me how to raise my child! Mind your own fucking business!" Her kid is still climbing the ledge part where the alcohol is, and I'm getting more anxious just looking at this kid. So while the mom is busy, I go to him and ask, "Hey, can you please get off? You can get hurt." He starts screaming for his mother and she comes running like a mad bull. She asks him if he's okay and if I hurt him, and he tells her, "She's not letting me play." She starts yelling at me and insulting me, calling me stupid and whatnot. She threatens me that she knows the manager and she will get me fired. She tells me to fuck off and continues to shop for wine while her kid is climbing on that ledge, and I get this bad feeling when I see him jump down hard and everything starts to shake. I run and tackle this kid to the ground to push him out of the way, then right at that moment the whole drinks fall onto the ground. There is red everywhere since it was part of the wine aisle, and I see myself badly cut. The kid is crying probably because I pushed him, and the mom comes running and she starts shrieking like a banshee, "This stupid teenager tried to kill my son!" And I told her that I literally saved her son's life since he could have been crushed or hurt badly by the glass. My thigh is bleeding since it got cut and she grabs my arm, digging her nails into my arm. "You are not going anywhere. I'm pressing charges and calling the police, you murderer." I think I want to cry because I'm losing blood and she has a strong grip of my arm. The police arrive and I'm literally about to be escorted as the Karen watches me smugly when the manager comes running. I explain everything to him since he's known me since elementary and I'm not an evil child killer. He tells me he has everything on camera and I almost cry in relief. The Karen seems to go a little pale, but is still insistent on pressing charges at me in the store, demanding that I be arrested for assault of her kid. The police review everything and even an eyewitness who saw and heard everything pitches in. The manager and police said I did a right thing and say I can press charges because Karen hurt my arm pretty badly. She's still fuming and now is threatening the police, so she's taken away and arrested. The kid is picked up by whom I presume is his dad, and I'm taken to the hospital to treat the glass shards in my leg. If I'm badly hurt from a few shards of glass, I can't imagine what would have happened if the kid was still there climbing. I don't think I could forgive myself if I had let him get hurt. Also, to those asking if I am pressing charges, yes. First, she hurt me pretty bad. Her grasp left some marks and a bruise. And the manager is pressing charges too because she left over $5,000 in damages by breaking a lot of expensive alcohol. So a lot of people are asking how the police believed Karen but not me. They weren't arresting me but escorting me elsewhere to question me since Karen kept on interjecting and screaming. I basically feared the worst since there were no witnesses, I had thought, and some part of our store has a blind spot with no cameras. Luckily, there was a camera and a witness. The manager was in his office, I believe, since it was a slow day and there wasn't a lot of people. The police was there first because Karen called them and told them I assaulted her son since I pushed him out of the way, and maybe he had a bruise, but he wasn't really hurt. What a roller coaster, folks! Our dear OP turned superhero, risking life and limb to save the kid from the brink of disaster and the thanks he gets. You murderer! I mean, come on, Karen, he's the lifeguard, not the shark. But whoa, her grabbing his bleeding arm? Now that's a new level of crazy. No please, no thanks, just pure insanity with an extra dose of entitlement. And hey, let's not forget, our OP press charges. Woohoo! So, what do you think of this wild ride, folks? Tell me in the comments. A Karen's son splatters acid on me during a chemistry class and then gets suspended, but his entitled mother blames me for it and resorts to violence. Here's what happened when the school took action. I was 14 when this happened. It was during chemistry when we had to go to lab to learn about neutralization of acid and alkali. Simple stuff, really. So my class has two chemistry teachers, one is a male and one is female, we'll call them FT and MT. So the class was arranged in a way that I'm sitting directly in front of the entitled kid. I couldn't switch, because we were arranged via index number and cross-gender and a bunch of other factors. Basically, I can't change my seat. On our desks, we had, as far as I can remember, a bunch of bottles containing chemicals, mainly alkalis and acids. Weak acid, but it's acid. This kid was the classic, I don't give a shit about schoolboy and constantly getting into trouble for talking in class, disrupting lessons, not handing in homework. You get the point. Everyone has had this one person in class before, right? The class goes on as usual until the chemistry teacher confronts entitled kid about why he isn't doing the experiment. It's just simple adding acid into alkali and seeing something happen. But the entitled kid simply just ignores MT. MT gets a little frustrated and is saying things like, "Do the experiment, help your partner, it was pair work, stop being lazy." Entitled kid simply replied, "Go away." MT continued to pester him to do the experiment for a good 2 minutes. Then entitled kid got super triggered and smashed the table before swiping away the bottles of chemicals, which unluckily got me splattered in what I believe was dilute sulfuric acid according to one of my friends. I thought I was gonna die because I could feel the acid dripping from my hair. My hair was quite long and was able to be in contact with my back, so basically my whole back was covered in acid. And the bottles we were given was only 5 ml, but I can feel my whole back drenched. MT pulled entitled kid by the arm and forced him outside the lab while FT brought me to the bathroom to wash away the acid that probably is already eating into my flesh right now. It was scary as shit, like a snake slithering on your back. I got rinsed and had a few red spots on my back and got cream, or something, applied from the general office. And my mother fetched me home to see a doctor. Nothing fatal, really. The day after the lab lesson, I was called to discipline master's office with entitled kid and Karen, Montana, and FT. My mother couldn't be there as she got a part-time at a supermarket. The discipline master said, "According to reports from MT as well as some of entitled kid's classmates, your child splattered acid over OP and got an outburst of anger in class." Karen replies, "So, does that seem to be a problem? Why not just ask OP to not sit in front of entitled kid then?" Excuse me? It's not like I can change my own seat. If I could, I would definitely, because I wouldn't want to be around entitled kid. Nevertheless, your son has hurt OP and reacted aggressively against a teacher. We have concluded 5 days in house suspension, basically detention from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. I was hoping for a cane, but that works too, I guess. Karen's face was red and entitled kid still had that whatever look on his face. I'm just blankly laughing in my head. Karen, entitled kid and me were told to leave while MT and FT remained to do some writings on entitled kid's report book or something. As we got out of discipline master's office, Karen just slaps me on the face, leaving a red mark on my cheek. Karen yells, "Why did you get my son suspended?" Now I'm a shy, quiet girl, and I never get into situations like this, so I'm just baffled thinking of what to say. And Karen simply gives me another slap, and I fall on the ground. I'm about to break into tears at that point when the discipline master storms out of his office and loudly asks, "Karen and entitled kid, you two need to leave now." Karen still had the courage to scream into discipline master's ears, "It's her fault my son is in suspension." The discipline master was about to call security at that point when MT and FT also came out and asked, "What is going on here?" Karen just screams, "This the absolute worst discipline master I have ever seen. You made my son receive suspension when this..." The discipline master cuts her off and quietly says, "Ma'am, you have one last chance to get out of the school grounds before I expel your child." Karen says with absolute confidence, "You can't do that." And I really don't think the discipline master can because by law, school is mandatory though. I guess entitled kid can be moved to another school. I'm not a politician. 2 security guards at the school gate came up and asked what was happening. The discipline master simply asked them to take Karen and entitled kid away, and the security guards dragged them out of the school. All the while, Karen was calling the discipline master out for unfair discipline, and for this whole time, entitled kid still had that, "I don't give a fuck about anything" look on his face other than a few devil smiles thrown out randomly. I was completely fine after that, and the acid burns left after a few weeks. Last I heard, entitled kid was transferred to a private school and probably didn't get his 5-day suspension. I heard rumors that private schools gave discipline cases based on income from the family, so he's probably going to be hell for the students in that school because his parents are quite well off. A lot of people are asking why I didn't charge Karen if I could relive that day. I would definitely charge her for everything, but back then I was too kind-hearted and had no idea of any political matters. Granted, I could have asked the discipline master about it, but I really just wanted to put that day aside and pretend that it never happened after I healed. Edit, many people are asking what country exists where people can be held for 11 hours and caned. I live in Singapore and this stuff exists. First off, this Karen's kid straight up splashes acid on our OP. Talk about a horror chemistry class. OP's chillin', doing science stuff, and boom, acid shower. No big deal, right? And the audacity of this Karen. It's not like OP chose to sit in the front line of her son's acid attack. How can someone hear your son splashed acid on a classmate and think, well, why didn't they just move? Like, I'm not a genius, but even I can figure out it doesn't work that way. But wait. The cherry on top is when she actually slaps OP for her son's suspension. What? That's more twisted than a double helix. This isn't just entitled, it's a whole new level of blaming the victim, folks. And then she gets dragged out of the school by security, ranting about unfair discipline. And of course, entitled kid is transferred to a private school, like some twisted reward for his acid-throwing escapades. Absolutely wild, folks. But hey, it's Karen's world, we're just living in it. I'm genuinely curious, guys. What do you make of this crazy situation? A Karen secretly records me jogging at the track as I recover from surgery and then complains to my boss that I wasn't fit enough to coach her son's team. Despite her efforts, I had the satisfaction of seeing her get permabanned from the program for harassment. Here's what happened. I recently had an emergency appendectomy, and recovery has been slow. I had to take time off from my own athletics, but worse, from coaching in the kids' sports program I'm involved with. The experience made me step back and realize I really built my whole identity around being active and healthy, so the hit my physical abilities took as a result of being sick plus the healing process has made me feel lost. I've been working to regain the joy I used to experience from exercise without going, oh, you used to be so much faster with that, or your technique used to be so much stronger, or you don't fit in anymore, or whatever else, and just enjoy myself regardless of the level I'm at. But ironically, the anxiety about not being able to do what I used to has made regaining those abilities difficult. It made me self-conscious about exercising in public spaces, but I was starting to finally get over it as friends convinced me the source of the concerns were all in my head. There's no way to get back to it other than training, so despite the anxiety, I started running again, as soon as the doctors approved it. I went to the local track and just did a few slow laps each morning, building up speed every few days, and I've only just been authorized to add some sprints and bodyweight strength training to the mix. Occasionally there were other people at the track, but I didn't really notice because I run with headphones on and try to zone out in these lighter sessions. But little did I know my friends were wrong. It was not all in my head, I was being watched, and more than that, I was being judged. My absolute catastrophe-level worst nightmare at this stage of building back my strength and speed. On Friday, I was setting up for practice at the kids program, and the head coach asked me into his office because a parent had a complaint. A parent I didn't know too well, Karen, was there, and he said she had specific complaints about me. The meeting almost didn't happen because of Karen's initial refusal to put on a mask, required in our facilities for now, but eventually her desire to tell on me for whatever she thought she had me on overrode her freedoms to infect everyone. I was a bit nervous, as anyone is being called to meet with their boss over a complaint, but I figured it was a classic case of, my kid should start more, or, I know my kid tried out as a midfielder, but I want her to switch to defense, that kind of rules don't apply to me thing. But instead, I sit down in the office, and Karen is playing my boss a video of me running on the track, that she filmed from afar. It's surrounded by stadium-style risers. I was horrified, both because no one is ever totally used to seeing themselves on video, and because I was just embarrassed about how slow I was. But most importantly because why was a virtual stranger, I'd met her personally maybe 4 times ever, filming me while I ran on my own time at a private facility? She then went on to explain that her 8-year-old son, one of the players on my squad, was lapping me in the video and insisting the coaches need to hold themselves to higher athletic standards than the young players if they want to prepare them for college teams. Again, her son is 8. Apparently her son would sometimes be running on the track while her older child was practicing on a nearby field. I never noticed. The kid is still relatively new, and I don't pay much attention to the other people on the track. My boss patiently but firmly explained to Karen that my physical abilities are not the parents' concern, and all personnel are closely managed by the head coaches who understand each unique situation and what's appropriate, and that her son wouldn't be impacted. Karen then went on to say my being out of shape was probably connected to why I'd been taking so much time off lately. Technically yes, it is because I was in the hospital. And complaining that the personnel changeover isn't good for the kids. My boss again reiterated that the head coaches hadn't changed or taken any time off, and that I was still one of the most skilled in the area I instruct, so this was not her concern. She asked if there was someone else she could speak to, but he explained that he was the owner and founder of this program. So, no, there was not. I knew my boss was intentionally avoiding saying what had happened to me, or even alluding to a health issue, to protect my privacy, but I figured maybe being transparent with her would show her how ridiculous she was being and keep her tuition dollars in our program during a difficult time for sports clubs. But when I explained, she just turned to the boss and said, well, maybe you should furlough her until she's healed and bring on a healthy coach in the meantime, because my son needs someone out there who can keep up with him. My boss respected what I was trying to do but made clear we weren't going further with that strategy to avoid setting a precedent of sharing coaches' personal circumstances. Telling her why people take time off or what their health status may be is not her concern because the program manages that and makes appropriate decisions. She kept kicking up a fuss, but the coach finally told her he had to get back out on the field, back to her son and everyone else's kids. She started physically leaving, but continued fussing about how she was not satisfied and would not be recommending us to other parents. Pro tip: not the way to conduct yourself with the people who make recommendations to scouts concerning family culture/team interaction. The coach wasn't preparing to leave. Instead, he stopped her in her tracks to tell her if she was found to be surveilling or otherwise harassing any staff members again, she would be permabanned from the program. No games or practices, no team social events, no presence in our buildings, and no clemency. So, that was pretty satisfying. Her son is a good average kid, and I'm glad the consequences were focused on booting her out rather than limiting his opportunities to have fun playing, so then we went out and had a great, happy, safe practice. This was still a pretty upsetting event for me personally though, and I'll never unsee that discouraging video of me running, but it was ultimately reassuring to know the other staff have my back. Leaving Karen in the dust is just another step on my road to recovery. I can't believe she went as far as filming you at the track and then had the nerve to bring it up as a complaint. Like, talk about crossing personal boundaries. And the fact that her 8-year-old is lapping you? Hello, you're in recovery. Give OP a break, Karen. I absolutely love how your boss handled the situation though. Major props to him for having your back and shutting her down when she tried to get all up in your business. It's just mind-blowing how some people can be so insensitive and entitled. You keep on running and getting back to your best self, OP.